The psychology of self-judgment. Why you freeze, panic, and apologize when speaking English. Your brain judges you long before anyone else does. That is the truth almost nobody tells English learners. Before you open your mouth, before you say your first word, before the conversation even begins, your own mind is already whispering, "What if I sound stupid? What if they don't understand me? What if I make a mistake? What if they laugh? What if I embarrass myself? What if I'm not good enough?" These questions arrive fast, heavy, and automatic. Your heart speeds up, your throat tightens, your English disappears, not because you don't know the words, but because you are too busy fighting yourself. And while the world sees silence, inside you is a storm of judgment, a storm of fear, a storm born from years of comparing, criticizing, and doubting yourself. This storm kills confidence long before grammar ever does. Today we begin dismantling that storm. Because the truth is simple. You don't struggle with English. You struggle with the way you think about yourself when you speak English. This is not a language problem. This is a psychology problem. The moment you understand the science behind it, your entire relationship with English begins to change. Your inner critic, the voice that insults you, limits you, panics you, did not appear suddenly. It was shaped by school experiences, by teachers who corrected you too harshly, by people who laughed at your accent, by the pressure to be perfect, by the fear of being judged. Most learners try to fix English with vocabulary lists, grammar books, speaking apps, but they never address the deeper issue, the invisible mental filter that says you are not allowed to make mistakes. You must speak perfectly. If you sound wrong, you are wrong. This filter destroys fluency. And the worst part? You don't even realize it's there. Let's break it down. When you judge yourself, your brain activates a threat response. Your body thinks you are in danger, even if you are only talking to a cashier, a coworker, or a friend. This response activates stress hormones, and your brain diverts energy away from language production. That is why your English disappears. When someone asks you a simple question, your brain is not failing. It is protecting you from a danger that does not exist. But here is the breakthrough. The moment you stop judging yourself, your brain stops fighting you. It stops freezing, it stops panicking, and your English begins to flow. Now let's go deeper. Self-judgment comes in 3 psychological layers. First, the fear of mistakes. You believe a mistake proves you are not good enough, but psychologists call mistakes learning data. Your brain needs errors the way muscles need resistance. Without them, there is no growth. Second, the fear of being judged by others. This fear is fueled by imagination, not reality. Most people are not analyzing your grammar. Most people are not counting your mistakes. Most people are busy thinking about their own lives, their own problems, their own worries. They don't judge you the way you judge yourself. Third, the fear of your own voice. You don't trust it yet. You fear how it sounds, how it feels, how it reveals your level. But confidence doesn't come from mastering English. Confidence comes from accepting your voice exactly as it is and then letting it grow. Now let's talk about identity. When you speak English, you temporarily become a different version of yourself, a quieter version, a smaller version, a version that hesitates, a version that doubts every sentence before releasing it. But this version is not permanent. It is not who you truly are. It is only the result of years of mental conditioning. Your real voice is underneath the fear, waiting to be released. So, how do we stop judging ourselves? We begin by understanding how the brain works during language performance. The brain has two modes, the performance mode and the self-monitoring mode. They cannot operate efficiently at the same time. When you speak and judge yourself simultaneously, your brain is forced into conflict. One part tries to create sentences, the other part tries to attack them. This inner conflict slows your speech, breaks your flow, and creates panic. But imagine speaking without evaluating every word. Imagine speaking without analyzing each grammar structure. Imagine speaking without worrying about how you sound. That is fluency, not perfect English, but free English. Let's break a myth now. People think confident speakers are confident because their English is good, but psychology shows the opposite. Their English became good because they allowed themselves to speak without fear. Fluency is not the reward. Fluency is the result of psychological freedom. Many learners ask, how do I sound confident? But the real question is, how do I stop attacking myself? In this series, you will learn how to break that attack cycle, how to understand the inner critic, how to weaken its power, how to build a new mental environment where speaking feels natural, not dangerous. But for now, I want you to internalize one truth. You are not your mistakes. You are not your accent. You are not your past experiences in school. You are not the nervous version of yourself that appears in conversations. You are the person who shows up today, willing to grow. And if you can stop judging yourself, even for 30 seconds, your English transforms instantly. This is the psychology of fluency. And today you've taken the first step toward freeing your voice. Segment 2. Where self-judgment really comes from. The hidden roots that control your English. Before you can stop judging yourself, you must understand why you judge yourself in the first place. Self-judgment doesn't come from grammar books. It doesn't come from vocabulary mistakes. It doesn't come from bad English. It comes from the deeper structures inside your mind, structures that were built long before you ever tried speaking English in public. To change your fluency, you must understand these psychological roots with complete honesty. Let's begin peeling them back. The first root, the memory of being corrected. Somewhere in your past, there was a moment, maybe small, maybe forgotten, when you spoke English and someone corrected you sharply. a teacher who interrupted you mid-sentence, a classmate who laughed when you mispronounced a word, a family member who said, "That's not how you say it," a stranger who looked confused and made you feel inadequate. Your brain recorded that moment, not as information, but as danger. And from that point onward, your brain built a rule. Speak in English, say it shun risk of embarrassment. This rule becomes automatic. Years later, even when no one around you is judging you, your brain behaves as if they are. It's not your English level that holds you back. It's the stored emotional memories attached to speaking. The second route, perfectionism disguised as learning. Most English learners don't realize they were trained to be perfect, not fluent. Schools reward accuracy, not expression. They punish mistakes, not silence. They push students to get it right, not say it boldly. So you become afraid of being wrong. Perfectionism is a psychological defense mechanism. It pretends to protect you from embarrassment by demanding flawless English. But in reality, it traps you. It tells you, don't speak until you're perfect. Don't try until you're ready. Don't practice unless you can't fail. The cruel irony? Perfectionism delays the very practice you need for fluency. It freezes your growth. It takes curiosity away and replaces it with fear. It creates the illusion that improvement comes from thinking, not speaking. But languages don't grow in silence. They grow in movement, in mistakes, in messy, imperfect attempts. Perfectionism builds walls. Fluency needs open doors. The third route, the comparison trap. You compare your English to native speakers, classmates who speak better, friends who learn faster, influencers who sound polished, actors who speak flawlessly, fictional characters with perfect scripts. Without realizing it, you compare your real-life English to someone else's edited, rehearsed, or natural language environment. You judge your progress using an impossible standard. Psychology calls this social comparison bias, the tendency to see yourself as less simply because you're looking upward instead of inward. The more you compare, the more you shrink. The more you shrink, the more you hesitate. The more you hesitate, the more you confirm the false belief that you're not good enough. Comparison is not a learning tool. Comparison is a confidence killer. The fourth route, cultural pressure. In many cultures, speaking incorrectly is seen as embarrassing. Strangers may judge accents. Families expect perfection. Schools punish mistakes. Society values good English speakers as more educated, more intelligent, more capable. This pressure creates a fear-based identity. If my English is wrong, people will think I am wrong. This creates an emotional weight that follows you into every conversation, even when speaking to someone friendly, patient, or supportive. You carry the fear of disappointing others. You carry the fear of representing your country or culture incorrectly. You carry the fear of being misunderstood and then blamed for it. But English is not a test of identity. It is not a measure of intelligence. It is only a tool of communication. Yet the cultural pressure turns it into a judgment system. That system becomes internalized. And once it's inside you, it doesn't need society anymore. You begin punishing yourself even when no one else is watching. The fifth root, your brain's threat system. Here is the scientific explanation. When you speak a second language, the brain activates two systems. 1. The language production system. 2. The self-monitoring system. When self-judgment is high, your brain interprets speaking as a threat. Not a physical threat, but a social threat. The threat system releases cortisol and adrenaline, the same chemicals released when you're scared, stressed, or in danger. These chemicals shut down creativity, memory access, and relaxed thinking. They block fluency. This is why you forget simple words. You freeze in conversations. Your voice shakes. Your sentences collapse halfway. Your mind goes blank. You think you lack English, but it's not an English problem. It's a threat response problem. When the threat response activates, the language system shuts down. Once again, your English disappears because your brain thinks it's protecting you. Understanding this is the beginning of freedom. The sixth root, the fear of your own voice. There is a strange experience that many learners never talk about. When you speak English, you don't sound like yourself. Your voice feels unfamiliar. Your tone changes. Your personality becomes smaller. Your natural confidence fades. This happens because speaking another language activates a different identity structure inside the brain. Your English self has not been fully developed. It is younger, less confident, more sensitive, more easily judged. You begin judging that version of yourself as if it's a separate person standing in front of you. You don't dislike English. You dislike the insecure version of yourself that appears when speaking English. This is why building fluency requires emotional development, not just linguistic development. Your English voice must mature, it must grow, it must become supported instead of attacked. The seventh root, overthinking. Disguised as preparation. You rehearse sentences in your mind, you prepare the perfect structure, you try to organize thoughts before speaking. But when the moment arrives, the sentence disappears. Why? Because speaking requires flow, not scripts, spontaneity, not memorization, presence, not prediction. Overthinking is simply self-judgment wearing a professional uniform. It feels like preparation, but it's actually fear. Your mind is trying to control the future to avoid feeling shame. But in doing so, it blocks the present. And without the present, you cannot speak naturally. Why these roots matter? Because you cannot change what you do not understand. If you believe your problem is grammar, you will study grammar forever. If you believe your problem is vocabulary, you will memorize words forever. If you believe your problem is accent, you will chase perfection forever. But if you finally understand my real problem is self-judgment, then your entire approach to English transforms. You shift from punishing yourself to supporting yourself, from fearing mistakes to embracing them, from hiding your voice to strengthening it, from performing English to living it. This is where real fluency begins, not in the mouth, but in the mind. Segment 3. The moment of freeze. What happens inside your mind when you try to speak English? You know the feeling. Someone asks you a question in English, you know the answer. You understand exactly what they said. You even know the vocabulary you want to use. But the moment you try to speak, your throat tightens. Your mind goes blank. Your English disappears into thin air. This moment, this sudden freeze is not random. It is not stupidity. It is not low confidence. It is a predictable psychological event with clear causes and clear solutions. And today we will break it down step by step. Because once you understand what happens inside this moment, you stop blaming yourself for it and you start taking back control. The freeze response is not a language problem. Let's begin with the truth. Freezing is not an English failure. It is a survival mechanism. Your brain reacts to speaking English the same way it reacts to danger. Even though speaking is safe, your brain does not treat it as safe. Why? Because your brain is not responding to English, it is responding to judgment. Every time you freeze while speaking, your brain is activating the same system used when a wild animal appears, when someone shouts at you, or when you narrowly escape danger. Except now the danger is, what if they think I'm stupid? What if I say something wrong? What if I embarrass myself? What if they misunderstand? What if I fail again? These thoughts activate the freeze response. You are not afraid of English. You are afraid of emotional exposure. So your brain protects you by shutting down your ability to speak. The internal split. Two parts of your mind fight each other. When you try to speak, two systems activate. One, the communicator. This part wants to express your idea, share your feelings, communicate normally. Two, the protector, self-judgment. This part wants to stop you from making mistakes. The problem is simple. These two parts cannot work together. When the communicator tries to speak, the protector interrupts with questions like, "Are you sure? Is that correct? Will they judge you? Does this sound stupid? What if you embarrass yourself?" So your mind enters a split state, trying to speak and trying to hide at the same time. This inner conflict creates the freeze. You are not failing, you are fighting yourself. The brain block. Why words disappear. When you freeze, you often complain, "I knew the words a minute ago. Why did I forget something so simple? Why do my ideas disappear when someone is in front of me?" Here's the scientific explanation. When your brain senses danger, even imagined danger, it shuts down the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for memory, vocabulary retrieval, and clear thinking. At the same time, it activates the amygdala, the part responsible for emotional survival. The amygdala does not care about grammar. It does not care about vocabulary. It cares only about protecting you from potential shame. So it silences your language abilities to help you avoid danger. This is why the freeze feels like this. You know the idea, you know the sentence, but the words vanish the moment you try to speak. Your brain is not broken, it is doing its job, but it is doing the wrong job at the wrong time. The spotlight effect. Why you feel watched. One of the strongest psychological forces during a freeze moment is something called the spotlight effect. This is the belief that everyone is looking at you, listening to you, judging your mistakes, analyzing your accent. But psychology shows something surprising. People pay far less attention to you than you think. Your brain exaggerates the importance of your performance because it learned long ago that making mistakes brings shame. So when you speak English, your brain turns on a giant imaginary spotlight, like you're performing on a stage, even if you're just ordering coffee. This spotlight intensifies the freeze response. You feel observed. You feel exposed. You feel like every word is being evaluated. But the spotlight is not real. It exists only inside the mind. Once you understand this, the intensity begins to weaken. The apology. Reflex. Why you say sorry. When you speak, another common behavior appears during freezes. You apologize for your English. Sorry, my English is not good. Sorry, I hope you understand. Sorry, my accent is bad. Sorry, I don't speak fluently. This apology reflex is not politeness. It is self-protection. By apologizing, you try to reduce the judgment you fear. You hope that if you warn people your English is not perfect, they won't judge your mistakes. But apologizing does something dangerous. It tells your brain that you're doing something wrong even before you have done it. It increases self-judgment. It increases fear. It increases the freeze response. The more you apologize, the more your brain believes something is wrong with your English, even if nothing is wrong. Stopping the apology reflex is one of the fastest ways to reduce freezing and increase fluency. The panic loop. How one mistake grows into 10. Here is what usually happens. You begin speaking, you make a small mistake, maybe a wrong tense, a missing article, a mispronounced word. Immediately your mind reacts, oh no, now they know I'm not good. This conversation is ruined. I must fix this. I'm embarrassing myself. This panic does more damage than the mistake itself. The brain shifts into emergency mode. The prefrontal cortex shuts down further. Language access becomes weaker. You begin making more mistakes. Not because your English is bad, but because your brain is overloaded with fear. The panic loop continues until you fall silent. This silence is not failure. It is psychological exhaustion. Your brain is overwhelmed, not by English, but by judgment. The truth about fluency that breaks the freeze. Cycle. Fluency is not what you think it is. It is not perfect grammar. It is not accent-free speech. It is not fast sentences. Fluency is the ability to keep speaking even when you forget a word, you make a mistake. You feel nervous, you feel judged, you feel imperfect. Fluency is psychological stamina. It is not built in textbooks. It is built in moments of vulnerability. You become fluent when you stop punishing yourself every time something goes wrong. The freeze moment begins to disappear the moment you stop treating it as failure and start treating it as a natural response your brain can learn to calm. Your fluency grows the moment you stop attacking yourself. Your confidence grows the moment you stop defending yourself. And your English begins to flow the moment you understand I don't need to speak perfectly, I just need to stay present. The transformation begins with awareness. Now you understand the freeze. You understand the threat system, the internal conflict, the panic loop, the spotlight effect, and the apology reflex. Understanding these mechanisms does not magically remove them, but it gives you power over them. In the next segment, you will learn the exact techniques used in psychology, linguistics, and cognitive science to deactivate the inner critic and retrain your brain to stay relaxed while speaking. This is where your transformation becomes practical. Segment 4. How to retrain your brain. Practical techniques to reduce self-judgment while speaking English. Now that you understand why your brain freezes, panics, or shuts down during English conversations, it's time to shift into the practical side. How do you retrain your mind so speaking English feels safe, natural, and pressure-free? Fluency is not built by forcing your brain. Fluency is built by teaching your brain that speaking English is not a threat. Let's explore the foundational techniques that begin rewiring your speaking psychology. 1. The permission to speak technique. Before you speak, you automatically judge yourself. You hold your breath, you evaluate your sentence internally, you check every word before releasing it. This creates internal pressure. The solution is surprisingly simple. Say either silently or out loud, I give myself permission to speak imperfectly. This sentence is powerful because it interrupts the judgment cycle. It signals to your brain that mistakes are allowed. It relaxes the prefrontal cortex and reduces the stress response. Your goal is not to speak perfectly. Your goal is to speak freely. Permission is the gateway to freedom. 2. The 2-second rule. Most freezing happens because you wait too long before speaking. The longer you wait, the louder your inner critic becomes. So here is the rule. When someone asks a question, start speaking within 2 seconds, even if you don't know how to finish the sentence. This forces your brain into flow mode instead of judgment mode. For example, someone asks, what did you do this weekend? You begin immediately. Oh, this weekend, I actually, let me think, and then continue your idea. This prevents freezing and builds fluency. 3. Speak in idea units, not perfect sentences. You freeze because you try to speak in long, correct, elegant English sentences. But fluent speakers don't speak like that. They speak in short idea units. I went to the store. Then I met a friend. It was unexpected. We talked for a while. Nothing special. Short bursts reduce self-monitoring and keep the brain relaxed. When you break ideas into small pieces, your fluency automatically increases. 4. The mistake normalization technique. One of the most important steps is reframing mistakes. Instead of reacting with, "Oh no, I failed," shift to, "Good, my brain is learning." Every mistake is a data point your brain uses to improve. Psychology shows that embracing mistakes decreases the threat response and increases working memory access. People don't judge you for mistakes. They judge you for silence, apology, or panic. If you treat mistakes gently, your fluency rises effortlessly. 5. Record yourself daily, but with zero evaluation. Recording your own voice is powerful, but most learners ruin it by judging themselves. Instead, use recordings for familiarity, not evaluation. Record 30 seconds of English. Listen once. Do not evaluate grammar. Do not criticize your accent. Do not analyze mistakes. Simply get comfortable hearing your English voice. This reduces voice anxiety, which is a major cause of freezing and self-judgment. 6. Train your nervous system, not just your vocabulary. When you feel nervous while speaking English, your body reacts before your words do. So practice speaking while relaxed. Breathe slowly. Drop your shoulders. Unclench your jaw. Allow your voice to come out without pressure. This trains your nervous system to associate English with calmness, not threat. The calmer the body, the clearer the mind. 7. Practice low-stakes speaking every day. The brain learns through repetition in safe environments. Speak to yourself in English at home. Narrate your actions. Describe your thoughts. Talk to your mirror. This builds fluency without fear. When speaking no longer feels dangerous, the freeze response begins to fade. The beginning of a new speaking identity. These techniques do more than improve English. They reshape your speaking identity. They help you build a version of yourself who speaks confidently, mistakes included. A version who feels safe inside conversations. A version who trusts their own voice. In the next segment, we will explore how to develop long-term confidence so your speaking ability grows naturally and consistently. Segment 5. Building a confident. Speaking identity, how to become the version of yourself that speaks without fear. Confidence is not something you are born with. It is something you create. It is a psychological structure built through repeated experiences of feeling safe while speaking. To stop judging yourself when speaking English, you must build a new identity, a speaking identity that is stronger than your fear, calmer than your inner critic, and more resilient than your past mistakes. This segment is about shaping that identity from the inside out. 1. Understand that confidence is a skill, not a personality trait. Many learners believe you need confidence to speak well, but the truth is the opposite. You speak well because you practice confidence. Confidence is a trainable behavior. It grows when you repeatedly expose yourself to small speaking moments and remain present, not perfect. You are not naturally shy or naturally anxious. You simply have not yet trained your speaking confidence, and now you're going to. 2. Build your English self instead of comparing it to your native self. When you speak your native language, you feel intelligent, expressive, fast, natural. When you speak English, you feel slow, limited, uncertain. This creates an emotional conflict. You compare your mature native language identity to your developing English speaking identity. But these two selves cannot be compared. Your English self is younger, still growing, still fragile, still learning how to exist in the world. Your job is not to criticize that self. Your job is to raise it. The moment you shift from comparison to nurturing, your confidence expands sharply. 3. The confidence loop. Why speaking creates more confidence. Confidence works in a loop. Speak, gain experience, reduce fear, speak better, feel confident. Repeat. Most learners wait to feel confident before speaking. But confidence does not come before action. It comes from action. A short conversation with a stranger builds more confidence than a week of silent practice. A simple answer in a meeting changes your belief about your voice. A single brave moment strengthens your speaking identity. Confidence grows through doing, not thinking. 4. The I deserve to speak mindset. One of the strongest internal barriers English learners carry is the belief, my English is not good enough. I don't deserve to speak. But here is a truth you must internalize. You deserve to speak because you are a human being with ideas. Your worth is not measured in grammar. Your value is not defined by accent. Your intelligence is not reduced by mistakes. People want communication, not perfection. When you walk into any conversation, remind yourself, I deserve to be heard. This shifts your brain from defensive mode to expressive mode, which is essential for long-term confidence. 5. Adopt a growth identity instead of a performance identity. A performance identity says, I must sound perfect. I must not make mistakes. I must impress others. A growth identity says, I am learning. I am improving. Every conversation teaches me something. Performance identity creates pressure and fear. Growth identity creates resilience and courage. Confident speakers are not perfect. They are simply willing to be imperfect in front of others. That is their superpower. 6. Take ownership of your English journey. Many learners believe fluency happens to them, as if one day magically they'll wake up confident. But confidence is a decision. It is built when you choose to practice, choose to speak, choose to continue after mistakes, choose to see conversations as opportunities, not tests. Your English is not happening to you, you are shaping it. And the day you take full ownership, your speaking identity begins to shift permanently. 7. The emergence of your confident self. Your confident English self is not a dream. It is a real psychological possibility, a future version of you who speaks without apology, expresses ideas clearly, does not panic at small mistakes, feels comfortable in conversations, trusts their voice. This version of you's already forming. Every time you choose courage over silence, growth over perfectionism, expression over fear. Segment 6 will show you how to maintain this identity long term so your confidence becomes permanent, not temporary. Segment 6. The final shift: how to end self judgment and step into a fearless English speaking future. You've learned why your brain judges you. You've learned where the fear comes from. You've learned what causes the freeze, the panic, the blank mind. You've learned the psychological techniques that retrain your brain and the identity shifts that build lasting confidence. Now, in this final chapter, we bring everything together. Because the transformation you want, the moment you speak English freely without fear, does not happen in one conversation or one lesson or one brave attempt. It happens in the invisible moments, the everyday moments, the small choices, the quiet decisions you make when no one is watching. Fluency is not a finish line, it is a lifestyle of courage. And today, you're ready to choose that lifestyle. 1. The real barrier is not English, it's the critic inside you. For years, you thought you had an English problem. You thought you lacked words. You thought your pronunciation was the issue. You thought your grammar was the obstacle. But now you see the truth. Your biggest barrier was self-judgment. The voice inside you that doubted your worth, the fear of being seen, the pressure to be perfect. Once you remove that psychological barrier, your English rises naturally. Fluency grows in an environment of acceptance, not self-punishment. And your journey from this moment forward is not about mastering English, it is about mastering peace with yourself. 2. Your new relationship with mistakes. Mistakes used to define you. They used to embarrass you. They used to silence you. But now mistakes become something different. They become teachers. They become evidence of growth. They become markers of progress. The moment you stop treating mistakes as failures, your brain stops activating the threat response. Your thinking clears, your voice stabilizes, your sentences flow. This is not magic. It is psychology working in your favor. Every time you allow yourself to be imperfect, your fluency expands by another degree. 3. The power of gentle self-talk. Throughout this series, you've heard about the inner critic, the voice that judges, interrupts, embarrasses, and stops you. But there is another voice inside you. It has been quiet, but it is there. It is calm. It is supportive. It is patient. It is wiser than your fear. That voice says, you are learning. You are improving. You are trying. You are allowed to speak. You don't have to be perfect. This gentle voice is not weakness, it is strength. It is the voice that helps your brain relax and allows your natural intelligence to come forward. Fluency is not built by pushing harder, it is built by speaking kinder to yourself. 4. What true confidence really looks like. Confidence is not loud. It is not flashy. It is not aggressive. True confidence is quiet. It is steady. It is grounded. It is the ability to speak even when you are unsure, to try even when you risk mistakes, to continue even when you feel a little afraid. Confidence is resilience. It is the decision to show up again and again, even if yesterday was difficult. Every time you choose to speak instead of hide, your confidence grows roots. Every time you resist the urge to apologize or undermine yourself, your identity strengthens. Every time you stay present in a conversation, your brain rewires itself. Confidence is not born in a moment. It is built in repetition. 5. The future version of you. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You walk into a room and speak English without overthinking. You respond naturally even when surprised. You no longer freeze. You no longer panic. You no longer replay your mistakes for hours. You have a calm presence, a steady voice, a relaxed mind. You feel free. This is not a fantasy. This is the result of small daily shifts, speaking instead of staying silent, breathing instead of panicking, accepting instead of judging, growing instead of performing. Your fluent future is built on choices you are now ready to make. 6. The final words. Your journey starts now. You began this series believing your English was the problem. Now you know your mind was the barrier. And your mind is also the key. The techniques you've learned are not temporary tricks. They are lifelong tools. Use them when you speak to colleagues. Use them when you order food. Use them when you talk to strangers. Use them when you feel fear rising again. And remember this truth. You do not need permission from the world to speak English. You need permission from yourself. From today onward, give yourself that permission every single time. Speak imperfectly, speak bravely, speak honestly, speak with the voice you have now, not the voice you think you must have. Because the moment you stop judging yourself, your real voice finally appears. And that voice, your true voice, is enough. It has always been enough. If this video helps you, don't forget to like the video, comment your experience, and subscribe for more confidence-based English lessons every week. Your support helps the channel reach more learners around the world.